What is up? What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. It's a warm one, bro. It's like it's like 82 degrees, but we are about to get this first ride in on this 3T Strada.
A few moments later.
All right, y'all. First ride is in the books with the 3T Strada, and I got a lot of talk about with this bike. I'm slightly disappointed, just a little bit, and it's about one particular thing, and I'm not sure if it's a bike thing, like to the 3T specifically. I don't think it is, but I'll tell you about it, right? I had to cut my ride short, right? And I had to cut the ride short because the seat post kept slipping. And it was slipping like bad, bro. It's like I'd make an adjustment, I'd go ride, and it'd be like 30 feet, bro, and it just slipped right back down. And why I said it might be a bike issue, but it might not be, because I had my bike set up and I had my fit dialed in to a point where it was pretty close to where I wanted to be. But you also know once you get a new bike and you go out on the road, that's when you kind of start fine tuning some things, right? So where I had my bike set up before with the seat height, I had it torqued to spec, and the spec was 7 Newton meters. When I torqued it to spec, I had my specific torque wrench that lets you get, every single torque number that you wanted to. And on the seat post clamp, it says max torque is 7 Newton meters. And I think I torqued it to like 6.8, and then I had like the fiber pace in there. So that was plenty. Now, when I first got the bike out and I was riding it initially, it wasn't slipping at all. It wasn't until after I was in the ride a little bit and I was like, okay, my seat post isn't at the height that I want to be, and I need to make an adjustment. When I'm out on the bike, I do keep tools with me, and I keep a torque wrench with me, but I have a 5 Newton meter torque wrench. So after I made the adjustment and I re-torqued it, I only torqued it to 5 Newton meters, and it says the recommended and max is like 7. So it's 2 Newton meters short. Now, when I made the first adjustment, like I said, I rode like 30, 40 feet, and then it slipped back down. I did readjust it again, and after I readjusted, I torqued it to spec. I torqued it with the 5 Newton meter, but then gave it just like a little bit more turn. Like I said, as soon as I got on the bike, it just slipped again. And I didn't want to go too crazy with the torque, because if y'all know carbon, it doesn't take a lot for you to crack something or mess something up. And that's where I knew like I wasn't going to be able to finish the ride like I wanted to. I really wanted to do like at least 30 miles to put some good miles on the bike. I ended up getting like 20, and I low-key didn't even really want to do the 20 miles because when the seat post was slipping, I was at like 12 miles, but I was on the back side of this loop and I had to come back around anyway. So that's how I ended up getting to the 20 miles. So when I get home, I'll re-torque it to spec with the 7 Newton meters, or to the 7 Newton meters, and then I'll see how it does. If the seat post slips again, then I know it's probably like a seat post thing, but I don't think it is, because like I said, when I first came out here, I had it torqued to 7 Newton meters or 6.8, and I wasn't having an issue with it. But another thing I'm gonna do for added security is I'm gonna take the seat post completely out. I'm gonna hit it with like some 60 grit sandpaper, scuff it up, and then put like some extra fiber grip paste on there to make sure it doesn't slip. Now, another thing that was concerning for me was the way the seat post is designed according to the frame, right? It's slipping and not being at the height, my desired height, was a thing, but then also I was concerned about the frame of the bike, because the way the seat post aligns with the frame, if it slips too much and goes straight down, I think it could damage the frame, my personal opinion, right? And what I need to do on the seat post is cut the seat post, the back of it, like at an angle. So that way, if it did slide all the way down and it hit the bottom of the frame and bottomed out, it'd be it'd be a more the angle of the seat post will rest on the frame better than it being a sharp point. And that's kind of like the same thing I have with the Cervelo. I never had a problem with my Cervelo seat post slipping, but the way the frame goes around the rear tire, I cut a slant in the seat post. That way, if it ever did slip all the way down, it'll contour with the frame better than it just being a sharp point. So that's some of the things I need to do. Hit it with some 60 grit, throw some more fiber paste on there, torque it to spec, and then cut that slit in there, and then it should be all good. So that's the only negative that I have about the bike. So talk about all the positives, right? The 3T Strada, who is this bike for? I'm gonna tell you who it's for, right? If you're an individual that likes a climbing style type of bike, as far as the ride characteristics and the handling, but you also want a more aero position and aero properties of an aero bike, this is the perfect bike for you because it's like a mix of both, right? When I got on the bike, the first initial feel was like, wow, this feels very, very familiar. And it kind of reminded me of my Trek Amonda, right? My Trek Amonda, my Bianchi XR3, the wheelbase is long. And with that longer wheelbase, the steering's a little more relaxed. And when you're out of the saddle climbing, it kind of feels a little more stable. So as soon as I got on the 3T and I started riding, I noticed like the front tire, it felt like it was way out there, right? And it just reminded me of my Trek because, I mean, I had my Trek. I rode like, I don't know, 4,000 miles on that dang on bike. And if y'all remember, when I transitioned from the Trek and I started getting more like aero type of bikes, like the VAM or the LA Sprint or like the Madone, one of the things I was talking about was like those bikes kind of felt twitchy. And it wasn't so much that the bike felt twitchy, it was like that wheelbase. The wheelbase is very, very short, and it's just a different type of ride feel. And if you've seen like that first video when I was talking about the VAM, I was talking about it being kind of twitchy. And that's just because I wasn't used to riding a short wheelbase. Now I hop on one of those bikes, I don't even think about it. But I haven't ridden a longer wheelbase bike in so long. Like I said, when I hopped on the 3T and I started riding, I said, wow, this feels very familiar, and it kind of reminds me of my Trek Amonda. Now, when I talk about like the aero properties and maybe having like an aero position from an aero bike, that's where a 3T is. The 3T, in regards to just the frame geometry, is the most aggressive frame that I have. It's not the most aggressive fit because I set it up like my other bikes, but it's the most aggressive frame. If you look at the stack height on the 3T, it's like mad low. Like, in my opinion, I hate the way my stack looks on this bike. It's like so much stack on there, but I really can't ride any lower. But when I compare the stack height, like the way I have it set up with the spacers and where the bars are, it's the same height as my VAM, my LA Sprint, and everything. But if you wanted to be mad, mad low, you could get super low on the 3T. Like if you're riding a tarmac, or you're riding like the LA or a bike like that, and you already slammed and you feel like you want a lower position on a bike, the 3T is the bike for you because you could get super slammed, super low on this bike, right? Climbing. Like I said, the climbing feel, it really remind me of the Amonda, just having like that longer wheelbase. When I got out the saddle and I'm climbing, I felt very, very comfortable. Now, some of this, what I'm telling you about this first ride impression, some of it is the bike, but then also some of it is like the total package that I have and how I have it set up. I have the Tavelo bars on here, right? And I'm running the 100 stem with the 36 wide. And man, it is on point. I felt super comfortable, super at home. The Tavelo bar, I highly recommend it. I had it on the VAM before, but it was too aggressive for the VAM and how I had it set up. But building a brand new bike and being able to control that steer tube before I cut it, I was able to get it to the desired height I want. But the bar is super comfortable. It's very responsive. It's got just the right amount of stiffness, and the 36 felt good. And today it was kind of breezy out, and I never felt like I'm so narrow that I might tip over or something like that. It felt very, very comfortable. Really like that bar setup, especially on this bike, right? Another thing, the group set, right? I'm not a big fan of SRAM, and the main thing was just the hoods. I never really got along with the hoods, but with the new SRAM Red, I definitely wanted to try these hoods. And I had a couple buddies who had the new SRAM Red, and I was getting my hands on the hoods, and it felt very good. So this was the first time riding with the SRAM Red, and I'll tell you, bro, the SRAM Red is on point. The SRAM Red is on point. If you are an individual that likes the Shimano hoods, and you've been kind of reluctant to try the SRAM because of the hoods, the new SRAM Red hoods is on point, right? I'm gonna talk about the shifting. The shifting felt very, very good. It was super, super smooth. I do run a wax drivetrain, um, and I have a Shimano setup because I got SRAM hoods, SRAM Red derailleur, but I have a KMC Shimano style chain, and I have a Shimano cassette and a Shimano free hub. And I talk more about why I did that setup. If you go to the 3T build series, when I went through every component, I talk more about that. But that combination worked extremely well, right? I got that 54 up front and I got the 1136 out back. Normally, all my bikes have a 54 tooth. Normally, when I'm running a 54 tooth 2x setup, I run an 1130 out back. And if I'm running a 54 tooth 1x setup, I'll run an 1134 out back. But this is the first time I've ever run an 1136. And having that 1136, that 36 bailout gear was, man, it was on point. I really didn't spend too much time in that gear today, but I did try just to see what it felt like. But I feel like I could go anywhere with this bike and not be worried about like the gearing. I really wasn't worried about it having a 34 before, running like a 1x with a 34. But sometime I might be, depending on a route, like if we're doing, I don't know, 3,000 feet of climbing, I might think about it. I'd rather have a 54 2x setup. But knowing that I have the 36 as a bailout, I feel pretty comfortable and confident riding that bike anywhere. And it was great, man. I think today I did 20 miles, but I'll put the stats up. I think I might have averaged like 90 something cadence. So my cadence is usually floating around like 89 to 95. So I never really have an issue with that. I never felt like I was going to bail out or anything like that. And then even the times I am riding a 2x 54, most time I'm usually always in the 54 tooth anyway, so it always works out. Um, Touching back on the SRAM shifting, the shifting was on point, right? Now, the SRAM Red has those bonus buttons. Initially, I was going to set the bonus buttons up for the pages on my bike computer because that's how I have it set up on my Shimano setup. That way I can switch the pages. But when I first got the SRAM, got it configured, got in the SRAM app, and looking at everything, I was like, you know what? It's set up for shifting right now. I might just leave it. I don't think I'm gonna have it for the to change the computer buttons because the shifting buttons, those bonus buttons, man, it's like perfect. I spend a lot of time riding with my hands on the hoods, and usually when I'm riding with my hands on the hoods, I shift with my pinkies. That's how I usually do it riding Shimano, and I was still doing that on SRAM. But where the bonus buttons is, I could just hit my thumb and just switch, and it's just perfect because when I climb with my hands on the hoods. And it's easy just for my thumbs just to hit the buttons. And the same thing, if I'm riding in the hoods and I'm kind of getting like in an aero position and I'm getting in a good groove, same thing. I could just hit those bonus buttons and shift gears. That was like, man, it was very, very, it was perfect, man. It was perfect. I was surprised like how much I was using those bonus buttons. I pretty much used those for the majority of the shifting. Um, the ergonomics of the hoods, it felt really good, man. The SRAM hoods are a lot more beefy than the Shimano. If you're an individual that don't like large grip things, then it might not be for you. I personally like large grip things. And for those of you that know, I shoot a lot of guns. I like large grip guns. Anything that has like a larger grip, or even like the same thing when I'm lifting weights, I like to use these grips that make the bar thicker. I like large grip things. So my hands felt great in the SRAM hoods. One of the things I was concerned about was the spacing on the SRAM hoods and where the levers are because it's got like a little bit more reach, but it wasn't an issue at all. And I really, really liked it because a lot of times when I'm riding in my Shimano hoods and I'm grabbing the levers, sometimes the lever is in between my fingers because it's like not enough space for me to put my hand underneath it and hold it. But the SRAM, since there's so much space there, I can put my whole hand underneath there. I never had it so where the lever is like sitting in between the finger. It's just like so much space up under there. And that was like, man, I'm telling you, I was very surprised how much I was getting along with those SRAM hoods. But I'm also glad because them shits was expensive, right? And it all worked out. So the SRAM was on point. Also coming from SRAM to Shimano, you know, some people was asking me like, how's the shifting? Just getting used to it. I've always been a fan of how SRAM shifts. All of my other bikes or Shimano Di2, all of them are set up to the same shifting as SRAM, meaning on the right lever you hit the button, you go down the cassette. On the left lever you hit the button, you go up the cassette. So coming from a Shimano bike to a SRAM bike, the shifting is the same for me. The way you shift, I've been shifting like that for years, so it was seamless. It wasn't nothing different. The only time I have something that's kind of like different is like when I ride my trainer bike, because I got an old school mechanical shifting, and you gotta do up and down shifting on one lever. But every time I ride like an electronic group set, all my shifting is the same. So didn't have an issue with that. That worked out good. Talk about these wheels, right? Now you can insert the hateful comments now, right? I've been getting so much love about my wheels, and people been talking about the decals. They say, "Oh man, I love those wheels. They so dope. They look clean. I love Cadex and all this." These are not Cadex wheels, bro. They are not. These are those yo-yo wheels, man. These are the yo-yo C60 joints, right? The ones I told you about. And if y'all remember, I told you a long time ago, I said I like the wheels, but I don't like the decals. I'm probably going to take the decals off and put something else on there. And that's exactly what I did. So if you look at these wheels, of course, your wheels are not going to come like that. I removed the decals. I gave them a polish to a high shine, and I put the Cadex wheels. I put the Cadex decals on there. The wheels are great, bro. The wheels are great. I love the specs on them with the 23 mil internal width, sub 1400 grams, true tubeless. You don't need any rim tape in there. The valves and the 60 deep is perfect. Today it was kind of breezy. Never had an issue with them on the road, bro. Never had an issue with them. Highly recommend. I got them when they was on sale. I paid like $800 on them. I know GC Performance has a 10% code that you can use. I'd highly recommend them, bro. I would get another set, and I would definitely remove the decals off of them, shine them up, and then put some other things on there. But I know a lot of people give me hate about that, but those are not Cadex wheels, man. These are the yo-yo wheels, man. But highly recommend. Now, also talking about, like I said, this is the 3T First Ride, but I'm also talking about like the package and how I got it set up. The Pirelli tires are on point, man. If you go back probably like 2-3 years when Pirelli first was coming out with some tires, I had a set of Pirellis that exploded on me, right? And I was kind of scared of them. But I had recently bought a pair and I threw them on my Cervelo S5 and I was loving them. So then coming to the 3T, I was like, let me try another set. The Pirellis are on point, man. They're on point. I am rolling 30s tubeless. These are the P0 race TLRs. I'm running like, I want to say I'm running 55 PSI in the back and 52 up front. But paired with that, with the specs of the yo-yo wheels, man, on point. No issues, man. No issues with the wheels. I'm trying to think what else is on here that I want to talk about. Talking more about the drivetrain too, right? I have the Garbrook 54 tooth 1x chain ring. I've run a bunch of 1x chain rings before, but this one is a little bit different. It has a different offset, so the chain ring is kind of closer to the inside of the bike, gives you a better chain line. And then also the narrow wide teeth are extremely long. They're probably like 3 or 4 millimeters longer than a normal narrow wide. And man, it gives you just more security running a 1x setup. But it's on point. Haven't had any issues with it. It looks freaking great, man. Paired with that KMC chain, that gold joint. And like I said, my drivetrain is wax. Never had an issue with it. I did have a slight concern with it though, because the way the 3T is set up, there's not a lot of frame clearance between that chain ring and that chain stay. It's like bad close, but of course, it's not moving when you're riding. So didn't have an issue with that, but it was on point, man. So far, so good. I am really liking the bike. I didn't even weigh it. I need a weigh to see how much it weighs. The only issue I'm having right now is, like I said, with the seat post slipping. But I think it's more so it just has to be torqued to spec. Once I get home and torque it to spec, it should be good to go, and I don't think it's gonna be an issue. I really think that's about it, man. I don't think there's anything else on the bike that I want to talk about. If you want to know more about every little specific component, part, why I picked it, like I said, you could watch the 3T Dream Build because I go through everything, why I picked it, what it is, and talk a little bit more about it. But this is just like the first ride impression. As far as a number that I would give it on a scale, like on a 1 to 10, I'm not going to give you one of those yet because I need to put some more miles on the bike. I probably got like a total of maybe like 24, 25 miles. I rode 20 miles a day. I did a couple like 1 mile, 2 mile rides, just kind of testing stuff. But so far, so good, man. Money well spent. The project is hella dope. And I'm going to be putting a lot of miles on it, man, 2025. So that's the 3T Strada, man. Ride number 1 in the books. We out.
Rob Armstrong.